very common that people try to stay away from being vulnerable for the
Mm-hmm.
most part. Is there any suggestion or motivation that you're willing to share as to why people should consider being vulnerable when they are sharing their story during a public speaking engagement?
Yeah. Again, from my perspective, if you don't want to be vulnerable, you have to ask yourself, am I really in this for the people? Or am I in this just to say I was the keynote speaker on stage and it strokes your own ego? And I think when we don't have vulnerability, it's because we're really just stroking our own ego instead of really being there to serve and pour into others. When someone's sitting in an audience and they're going through a certain pain point in their life, they don't want to hear your perfect story. They don't want to hear about your success. Like, how many of you have ever been broke and somebody, one of your friends, just hit the lottery for 2 million? You don't want to hear. I mean, you're happy for them, but at the same time, you don't really want to hear a whole lot about that. You like, look, I just want to go in my little corner and I want to sulk because I'm not in the position that you're in. So it's very hard for people to be in a space where someone's in front of them and they're talking about all of their success and all of everything they've accomplished and all these achievements and where they are in life and what their bank account looks like. But I'm sitting in the audience trying to figure out, how do I get there? That's a very hard pill to swallow, as we say. So the thing that makes it more relatable is the vulnerability. So I can get on a platform, I can get on a stage and I can say, today I'm a 2-time TEDx speaker. I'm a 7-figure business earner. I've written 28 books. I've spoken for NASA, the United Nations, this place and that place. I've been to 15 countries and hosted events. I can say all of that. But if I don't give the follow-up to that, which the follow-up is ... but it didn't start there.
Yeah.
If I don't include the it didn't start there, half of the audience is going to tune out because they can't even relate to my level of success. So they
Yeah.
don't feel like there's anything in this speech for them because I've started off with all the great things I've accomplished. But if I never pull in the balance to that, which is, but that's not where I started. And I always say, if I'm in my chapter, my amazing, wonderful chapter 15 of this speaker journey, then y'all can imagine chapters 1 through 14 was probably a hot mess, right?
Mm-hmm.
That instantly breaks the ice. I'm like, because chapters 1 through 14 was me trying to get here, me going through the struggle, me facing my fears about whether or not I was good enough to be on a stage of this magnitude. It was all about me feeling like if I came to the front of the room, people were going to judge me, and I didn't want to be judged. And I started being vulnerable about how I got to all those accomplishments and achievements. And every time I do that, it softens the hearts of the people in the audience to say, oh my God, well, wait a minute. Maybe I should lean in a little bit more and listen to what this person has to say because she sounds just like me. Or if it's a gentleman on stage, wow, he sounds just like me. In fact, so many people, the biggest compliment I get is when people come running up to me after a speech and they say, oh my God, you were telling my story. That means they were able to see themselves in me through my struggles, which means I now open up a door for them to see themselves in me as a part of my accomplishments. Because if I can push through being a brown girl who grew up in poverty and end up here, if I can push through having fear and imposter syndrome and end up here, if I can go through not having a college degree, but end up here, if I can, you can. And at the end of the day, that is our job as speakers, is to make the audience feel more hopeful about something they can have that they don't currently have. So that's how deep vulnerability goes. It's allowing the room to see themselves in you so that they can also believe that what has been possible for you is also possible for them.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. One of the things that I've seen people do on the stage, though, that is a modification of what you just shared, is just now sharing their backstory and just staying there with the audience, like sinking down and not bringing the mood back up, and then say, well, even though I went through all that, I was able to come back up and achieve this and achieve that. That's it. Once in a while, I see speakers do that, and it seems that they just bring the mood down and they never bring it up at any point.
Well, it's up to you how you do it. Either way, you're still including both. You
Yeah.
must include as a profound, unforgettable speaker. You must share the high and the low. So whether you start with the high and
Mhm.
oh, I've done this because they just read your bio, right?
Yeah.
Most times when you come on stage, they're reading a portion of your bio, and she's done this, and she's been in Essence, and she's been here, and she. So the first thing I like to say is let's just get that out of the way. Yeah, that bio. Let me tell you, it's real sexy, but it did
Mhm.
not start there. Like all that stuff, all the speaking here and speaking there and being featured in Forbes so for a lot of times for me, it's easier to start from that point because you just heard this amazing introduction of me. And
Yeah.
now my job is to break down the walls that you've created because you heard that I'm this amazing, perfectly sounding person. And so I immediately go from that into, but here's what I need y'all to know. It did not start there.
Yeah.
That bio is great and it's juicy. But let me take you back 14 years ago when I first started. So that's one way. Or, yes, you can take them low and you can tell them, I can tell them about my 14 years in corporate America when I was dropping my kids off at 6 in the morning and not picking them up till 6 in the evening. And they were in somebody else's care 12 hours a day. And I felt like I wasn't even a present mother. And that wasn't okay with me. I sat in a job that told me this is how much you're going to make because you don't have letters behind your name, and who devalued me because I didn't have a college degree, even though education and intelligence don't education lack of it doesn't mean you don't have intelligence. So I can tell that story and then come up from that story and say,
Mhm.
oh, but were they wrong? Because what I've been able to do is I've been able to
Yeah.
accomplish that. So either way, I don't care if you take the high and come low or take the low and come high, you must share both sides of you. You must share the successful side of you because that creates possibility in the minds of the audience. But then you must be vulnerable and share the low side of your story because that creates relatability.
Wow. Thank you. Relatability.